Hello, I'm Nate Jackson, the man with the sack. It's really hard to come up with intros like this to these things. Yeah. Anyway, why am I the man with the sack? Because I just watched number 49, Federico Fellini's Nights of Cabiria. It's 118 minutes, 57. Miss what's her name? Giulietta Messina, I guess, Fellini's wife, and the female chaplain, according to Wikipedia. There you go. So this one wasn't too bad. It's a trippy story, really trippy story. Basically, it's about this prostitute named Cabiria, who, in the beginning, she ends up getting robbed by this guy who pushes her and almost drowns her, and they save her. People save her, and she's really headstrong, and she's very much like a spitfire, and she's not afraid to shoot her mouth off at somebody, or go round to rounds with the prostitute across the street who just bags on everybody, only because she's older. Well, the prostitute across the street is Cabiria. Messina was apparently like 34, 35 when she shot the film, so that's not bad. Anyway, yeah. So she plays a prostitute who's like really kind of naive, but also still really headstrong, and she's basically looking for love in the wrong profession, looking for love in all the wrong places, and so on and so forth. There's this basically, it's just like Fellini there's a story, but there's like it's all like based on little vignettes, there's little scenes. She meets an actor, and they go to a club, and she dances the mambo all crazy, unlike everybody else who's very dignified. She's just getting on down, and they go back to her place, and then the actor's wife or former girlfriend comes back and she ends up falling, but they end up having relations together while Cabiria's in the bathroom hiding from them, and she finally leaves, and she ends up all kinds of stuff. She ends up like going to the Madonna La Dolce Vita or something like that to pray for forgiveness or something. And she just totally just goes everywhere, and then toward the end she ends up meeting this guy, I guess a former boyfriend or something like that, or because she goes to this magic show and gets hypnotized into acting out this really like tender love scene in front of the stage while being hypnotized and all that. So and then and one of the guys who are in the audience introduces her, and they meet, and he falls in love with her, and it's he's really just enamored by this woman, and they end up proposing, and she's like really kind of iffy about him. At the same time, she slowly starts to fall for him, and when she finally realizes that after only 10 days or 10 times meeting her, he proposes. And so she's like ecstatic, and so she's running around, and she leaves her house. She moves in with them or something. They go out to the woods, and they go out to this cliff, and they're overlooking the thing and overlooking the scenery, and this is toward the end. She ends up looking at him and thinking, and he doesn't say a word, and he's sweating, and she realizes within an instant that he didn't want to marry her. He just wanted her money. He was going to kill her for her money, just like the guy in the beginning of the movie. Possibly because of her profession. I don't know. But yeah, he ends up taking the money and leaving her alone until she ends up walking back to town, and with these little boys dancing around her and laughing and playing guitar, and she ends up smiling through her tears, and it's such a weird ending. Yeah, so there you go. That's the basic plot. It's the character Cabiria is pretty likable. I mean, you sympathize with this character. You really do. Fellini gives you so much so much of dialogue and so much of her you can just like get into, and that's what's really cool about Cabiria. Now there's this 7-minute sequence that apparently got cut from the original, from like after the first pressing or something like that. The sequence where Cabiria meets a man who has like a sack and goes around to like these caves and feeds people, and apparently it was totally lost until this issue, until the Criterion Collection said, you know what, go find this thing because we're gonna put the whole thing out, So, and I guess it had been cut apparently because there's an interview on here with producer Dino De Laurentiis, where he talks about how he ends up going to like they cut it because the film ran too long, and I guess it didn't have anything to do with Cabiria. It was just this guy going around, feeding people, and it just really took away from the storyline. There was another story, however, the more widely known story, that apparently the Catholic Church censored it because of something about showing, helping the homeless or something. I don't know. That, now knowing the real story, this first one seems really far-fetched. So yeah, so they towed it like crazy. The never before seen 7-minute man with a sack sequence. Well, I guess never before seen. Okay, well then that means that nobody ever saw it until now. How about that? I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with the story, but at the same time, see, for the longest time, here's a funny thing. I always read man in a sack, which I thought, okay, Fellini, it makes sense. But man with a sack, I kept reading. It took me a while to read man with a sack. I was looking for a guy in a sack. I thought, okay, this is gonna be some sexual thing, some weird, bizarre, ritual that they had to cut because it's just too bizarre and awful for moviegoers to watch. But no, it's just a guy helping out the homeless. It's a little long. It's 7 minutes, but still, it's part of the story. It's part of the movie. Let's see it, So yeah, that's basically what I have to say as far as Fellini, once again, it's the role that really got Messina up there. I mean, she's in a lot of stuff before and after, but this is probably, I don't think I'm going to see her in another movie other than that one. So applause to Messina for definitely putting on a wonderful performance, and definitely making the movie watchable. Maybe another time. Maybe I'll get it sometime. But that being said, I'm giving it a B because there were scenes like with the Madonna La Dolce Vita that I feel like that was a little bit distracting. I mean, and the only thing that saved it was Cabiria's analysis at the end. Like, at the end, they're out like having a picnic, and she's like, "Nothing's changed. We're all the same. Why did we go there?" And that was kind of that brought me into it. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But yeah, B. It was a good story, good plot, and Cabiria is definitely a great character. But yeah, at the same time, there are just scenes that there were scenes like that could have just didn't do it for me. So yeah. As far as that, this is the only version. So, and it's out of print too. So this one will probably be hard to find. What else we got? A long ass interview with former Fellini assistant Dominique De Luce, which I guess back then they split up the interview by like sections. So you have to go through and see each selection. You can't just hit play all or anything like that, which I would have preferred because I just said, so I don't know exactly how long the thing was, but no, I had to watch 2 segments or like 8 minutes where he talks about meeting Fellini and his wife and blah, blah, blah. This is crazy. Yeah, like I said, the audio interview with producer Dino De Laurentiis, where he talks about the scene and why they cut it and all that. 2 trailers, the original trailer, and then like a reissued trailer, which really sucks. It's from the 80s. It's like, I don't know. An excerpt, a 5-minute excerpt from The White Sheik, and where with Cabiria, like her first appearance. Messina played Cabiria originally in Fellini's The White Sheik. and it's just like a 5-minute scene where she's just like, and you get to see her, and she's definitely a little more classier in this scene, and it doesn't like she's just like kind of but you still see a little bit of the fireball in her, kind of a I'm gonna get what I want kind of thing, And then there's like a 4-minute restoration demonstration, which is always cool. I think the best part was the subtitle where they talked about how they improved the subtitles, and that's one thing I'd really want to see, like like the original like subtitle translation for like when the US got it versus like now, because I feel like subtitles were one of those things that like back then they just did it so that audiences could get the gist of what was going on, but now it's like, let's really decode what they have to say and let's really tell them what they said. So yeah, and that's it. That's all I got for you. Knights of Cabiria, good one. Read. Tomorrow, number 50, and the ship sails on. More Fellini, 1984. Probably won't be very good because this was after Armored. And yeah, so hopefully I'll get through and it's like 10 minutes longer. How about that? 9 minutes longer. But at the same time, I don't see any supplements, so maybe this will be just real quick. So yeah, we'll just do the movie and then get the review out there. So until then, be a man with a sack, and yeah, sack, and yeah. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for another Fellini, and the ship sails on. And until then, say goodbye, Cabiria. Goodbye. That's my worst Italian impression ever. But anyway, until then, goodbye.